Before I get into the technicalities, what I like to do, which is to teach toolbox a method of how to date, right and wrong, etc. We have a comprehensive shiur coming your way. I think it's important to discuss the spiritual dimension of shidduchim and the place that Emunah, has a role in here, and that's critical to be able to. When I deal with people, it's most I try to put them in the right lane in terms of spirituality, even if they're modestly religious. This way they understand that there's a Ribono Shel Olam who's in charge. He's ultimately responsible. What we do here down here is the hishtadlus to be able to just do what we have to do. And then what we'll do is we'll give them the skills necessary so that they can perform their best. An old story is told about a tough, weather-beaten, leather-skinned Alaskan who's drinking drink after drink in a bar in Anchorage. He tells the bartender that he's lost his faith in Hashem and he no longer believes in God. He says, I had a terrible accident in the Alaskan wilderness. My twin-engine plane went down in the tundra, hundreds of miles away from civilization. I lay pinned in the wreckage for hours, believing that God would somehow help me. I cried out to God. I prayed with every ounce of strength that I had. I begged for rescue, as there I was lying and freezing to death. God didn't lift a finger to help me. So now I'm done with this whole charade. And my faith in God is gone. The bartender squints at the Alaskan in puzzlement. I don't understand, he's protesting. You're here, you're alive. Obviously you were saved. Oh yeah, that's right, concedes the Alaskan. Finally some Eskimo came and rescued me. We forget that there's a Hashem in the world, and sometimes that has to be reminded to our clients when we work with them. So, to give you a little chizuk, one of my favorite stories is about a woman who's 43, never married, no children. And she writes, I was having a tough time getting the enthusiasm to daven for the same thing once again. 2 years ago, I approached the Yomim Noraim with a certain sense of, here we go again. Having just turned 43, never married, no children, I was having a tough time getting up the enthusiasm to pray for the same thing. How many times can you ask Hashem for the same thing? And how many times can you get the same answer? In Shul Rosh Hashanah morning, I saw two young women in our community who were standing throughout the Chazara of the Musaf service. These two girls, Sarah and Tova, were the daughters of close friends my age. Both were 18, just back from a year studying in seminary in Yerushalayim, and now, according to the custom of the community, ready to get married. I knew that these girls would be praying intensely to find their Rashert, quickly and easily. I understood why they stood through Musaf. It's an especially long service, and one is not required to stand throughout, but it's considered the biggest chus if you do. So I imagined, she writes, that this is an important year for them. These young girls wanted to stand out before Hashem in sincerity, with the hope that their prayers to get married that year would stand out as well. As I sat there behind these two girls, the only two people standing in Ezras Nashim, these two young girls who were 18, I envied their youth, their belief that doing something extra could make a difference with Hashem. I envied their high chances of marriage that year to young men of whoever they wanted. I envied their physical stamina for the hours of standing, and I envied their perseverance to stand while everyone else remained seated comfortably. And so I said to myself, how different their outlook is from mine. And we're praying for the same thing. I thought to myself, how better their chances to get married than mine. How lucky they are. I wish I had what they have. I wish I could do what they're doing. From my seated position, I envied their tefillas, and I believed that their prayers would be answered, and mine again, probably not. And then I said to myself, they don't want to be married any more than I do. I thought from the comfort of my chair, their davening and prayers are not better than mine. They're just younger and stronger than me. And then I did something I did not expect. I stood up. I stood up to show Hashem that my prayers were as deeply felt as theirs. That my desires were as real and as sincere. To show the Almighty, I'm not too tired, I'm not too old to embrace the responsibilities of marriage and family. I spoke in Yerushalayim, Shalosh Shuras. A 58-year-old man says he's scared to get married. I said, what are you scared of? He's been on my WhatsApp chats for 2 years. And every time I said, let's talk, he evades the issue. Oh, all these people are getting divorced. Why do you have to look at life this way? Do you approach the life the same way when you go to work? In any other function, what makes you worry about this more? Perhaps to remind myself that I could do more, be more, and that my prayers could also be answered. I looked at all the other women who were seated comfortably around me. I made the choice to stand again. And each time the congregation stood and sat, I remained standing. During the songs I swayed, during the silent tefillas I wept. I pushed myself physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And later during that year, Sarah Tova and I were married within 6 weeks of each other. 2 very lovely young ladies and 1 woman old enough to be their mother. We planned our wedding at the same time as my 2 friends planned their daughters' weddings. We shared caterers, photographers, lots of laughs, as a season of planning of joy enveloped all of us. And we danced together at Sarah's wedding, Tova's wedding, and finally my wedding. And last year, as Yamim Noraim approached, I still had 1 tefillah left unanswered. I understood the statistics, the physical realities, the unlikelihood of success, but I was married now. And like most married Jewish women, what did she want? A baby. I hoped for a child. Was my desire any less because my body was old? In fact, I thought at 44 my desire was greater. If I'm ever going to have a child, it probably has to happen soon. So I asked myself, could I summon the strength to stand through the service again? Sarah and Tova were long gone. Sarah with her new husband in Yerushalayim, Tova with her new husband in Eretz Yisrael in Baltimore. No one to motivate me, no one to inspire me this year. So I tried. I made it through Rosh Hashanah service, it felt good. I was determined. Anything's possible, but in Yom Kippur, my physical strength failed me. I stood, and I stood. And then I just had to sit down. I felt so wiped out, I thought I was going to pass out. As I took my seat, I felt a terrible sense of disappointment. What can I do? I'm not 20 years old anymore. I don't have the stamina. I can't do it on my own. I know that standing isn't required. It's not a chov to stand. But over the past year, I came to believe that's what made the difference. At the closing praise of Ne'ilah, the whole congregation was standing, and I was on my feet again. I knew so many matters were being decided at that moment of Ne'ilah, and I wasn't sure I had done all that I could. And just before the end of the service, I leaned over to my friend and I said, Naomi, could you please do me a favor? Could you ask Hashem for just one more neshama this year? Just one more? And then I burst into tears, fearing that I had failed. And a few weeks later, with my physical strength having failed me on Yom Kippur, I found out why. She was expecting. Months later, I learned that Sarah Tova, all of us, with due dates were lining up within 4 weeks of each other. We were all married. My 2 dear friends were about to become grandmothers for the first time, and I was about to become a mother. So this year, Sarah Tova and I became mothers. My husband and I are fortunate to share another season of Simcha with my 2 good friends and their daughters and sons-in-law. As Yamim Noraim approach this year, I wonder if I'll even make it to shul. I'm exhausted from night feedings. I worry that if my baby daughter will disrupt the service for those who are davening. But I'm so content in so many ways. I'll try to make it anyway, if only to express my hakaras hatov for praise answered so completely. When I look back at the changes in my life over the past 2 years, I realize what a powerful opportunity Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur gave me. The opportunity to stand before Hashem and to plead my deepest desires to Him. And the courage to hope, once again, for a different response. So we wonder, what's going on in Shidduchim today? Sometimes it seems like it's a maze. And I think Julie could say the same thing.
This is the cover of my book, it's a maze.
Right? I didn't even notice, but it's a maze. But in a way, there's a way you can get around that maze. And that is, either it's for you or for people that you help, as a shadchan, etc. One of the best things you can advise them to do is to create a top 10 needs list. So they can determine, what is it that I need in a partner in order for me to be happy? That's important. Once a person has a Waze, has a GPS of where they're going, so when they go on dates, they can now assess the person based on the qualities that they have written down. Now there's needs and there's wants. Wants are superficial. Tall, handsome, father has money, family has an apartment in Yerushalayim for the holidays. That's ridiculous stuff. Needs are midos, kind, compassionate, 2 years ago, I was asked amongst 30 people at Parshas Chayesara, what do I feel is one of the most important, if not the most important midah to look for in the shidduch? I said right away, mevater. So look for someone who's mevater. Look for someone who has simchas achayim. That's so important. In a world where we're challenged constantly with struggles, you need someone who can pick themselves up when there's a disappointment in life and be able to march forward. That's so very important. So with a top 10 needs list, you now march on. And I often tell people that I've helped over the last couple of decades, you don't need to hit 10 out of 10. There's a concept in halacha, acharei haravim lahatot. We go after the majority. 6 out of 10 you're in. Physical attraction, your shemaim are musts that you need to see, and the rest is lever passion. Look for the 6 out of 10. I will just point out some things that I like to tell the girls. And 3 qualities that I told my married daughters to be on the lookout for, to be careful with, is ka'as, kaptan, and kamtzan. Watch out for a guy who's angry, because that's like living with someone in Gehenna. Watch out for someone who has kaptan, is makpid, has to have it his way. And watch out for someone who's cheap. I've had people who told me they went on dates and walked in on 90 degree weather, and I didn't offer them a bottle of water. Wow. So you have to look out. Don't assume anything today. And be consistent in that approach. Give me a second. Let me just grab my stuff here. I'm looking for something here. I like to work backwards. If we look at the fact that society is averaging between 60 to 70% divorce rate, let's find out the mistakes people are making and try to how to teach ourselves and teach the people that we mentor and that we try to set up what to avoid. With the divorce rate over 60%, so many people are making mistakes in deciding who to spend the rest of their life with. You don't want to become a statistic, so try to internalize the following 10 insights. You married the wrong person because you expected that person to change after you were married. Rabbi Lopian once gave a class, a shir. He was the mashkiach of Kfar Hasidim up in near Haifa, yeshiva there. And he said, what you see is what you get. Don't live your life on promises. Oh, I'll do this and I'll do that for you. No. The classic mistake. Never marry someone's potential. If you're not happy with the way the person is now, that's not a person that's a partner for you in life. So when it comes to their spirituality, their communication skills, their personal habits, ask yourself this following question. Can you live with them the way they are now? It's very important. Number 2, you picked the wrong person because you focused more on physical attraction than on character. I'm involved in a case of 2 very wealthy families in America, one from the Midwest and the other one from the other side, the Northeast. Within 5 weeks of the wedding, they had to break it off because she never really checked into his character. It turned out that he had a big drug issue. Yeah, so. And they're from our camp, by the way. So don't be naive. It's there. While physical chemistry ignites the fire, it's good character that keeps it burning. Have you checked into that person's background? What are they about? How do they get along with people? Here are 4 qualities you need to definitely check for. Humility. Does that person believe that doing the right thing is more important than their personal comfort? Kindness. Do they give pleasure to other people? How do they treat people they don't have to be nice to? Perhaps the janitor in the building. Did they just walk all over them? When Moshe Shira passed away, the head of the Good Israel, the person who cried the most was the black elevator clerk. Because he said that man with the mustache and the skull cap said good morning to me every day. Made him feel like a person. Responsibility. Can I depend on that person to do what they're going to do? Responsibility. So if you're handling guys, tell them that John Gray, who's the guru, who wrote the book Men Are From the Moon and Women Are From Mars, he says 3, I think, very outstanding concepts that we need to really internalize. What allows a woman to feel that she's with the right guy? And he brings down his shitos. Confidence, man with a plan, and responsibility. Yesterday I had a consultation with a local person from Yerushalayim. I said, what do you do every day? I want to hear. So one good point. Just ask them, what did they do every day? Rather, let me rephrase myself. Tell me a typical day in your life. So he gets up. He says, sometime between 7 and 9. Red flag number 1. Okay? What do you do from 9 and on? I help tidy up the house. I clean up. I sometimes go shopping. Red flag number 2. Right? And then what do you do in the afternoon? Occasionally I have a chavrusa shaft at someone. I said, dude, you are in trouble. Because the first thing the girl's going to ask is, what's your plan? What do you do? It's all about. How do you expect to mefarnes a woman with that kind of lifestyle? How's that going to work? So look out for that. Responsibility. Happiness. Does the person like themselves? Like I said before, do they have a simchas achayim? It's a pleasure to live with someone. It's a pleasure to take a journey down the road 20, 30, 40, 50 years with someone who sees the glass is half full, not half empty. That's very important. I can't tell you how many times I've made people close the door in their bedroom, look at the mirror and smile 50 times. And just become a bit habituated to that. This I learned from my Rebbe, or Victor Miller, who was my Rebbe for 42 years. It's so important, these insights. You choose the wrong person, moving on, because they don't share common life goals and priorities. This is one of the biggest things that I see when I deal with divorced people. I'll ask them what happened, and they'll tell me that we grew apart. I said, did you really investigate well when you were dating? Did you ask thorough questions? Questions like, what are your goals for the next 3 to 5 years? How have you grown in the last few years? What would happen to you if you were embarrassed while waiting for a table in a restaurant? What do you do when you have a rough day and you want to pick yourself up? If she tells me or he tells me, I go for a run, I listen to Emunah shir, then I see they have the kalim to deal with life. It's very important. Who do you go to for advice? This is especially important when a girl is going out with a guy that the boy needs to have a mentor, needs to have a rabbi. I'll never forget, a few years back, a young girl came to me from the 5 towns who thought she was getting divorced. She had married a guy who was in the Mir in Israel, came back home, and the deal was he would learn a few hours in the morning. 2 hours became an hour and a half, which became an hour, which became a half hour. No more minyan, now it's called congregation b'nei bedroom. 15 minutes, and everything was just like evaporating away. So she says to me, I should really leave him. I said, no, hold on. Who's his Rav? He was in the 5 towns. I said, run and talk to him now. He could save this marriage. And indeed he did. Because a Rav has a way with words with a Talmud. When there's a Rav in the picture, it means all the difference. I dealt with a case right now in Eretz Yisrael. I gave a talk, and so that's Shalishi. There was a girl from Manchester who now lives here. She's 32 years old. She comes up to me after Shabbat, and she says to me, I want to talk to you about I'm in a relationship right now with a boy who is Israeli. I said, what's up? Well, I'm Masorati, Shomer Shabbat and everything. He doesn't keep much. But he's a good guy, and I'm having a good time with him, meaning that I've connected with him better than any other guy that I've connected with. But the problem is he's not from. So I said, on paper, I don't like it, because when you have a huge disparity in religion, it's a problem. But I'll tell you a story soon about that. But I'm happy to talk to him. Maybe he's interested in moving things along. Perhaps you and I and him could sit tomorrow for a cup of coffee in my hotel lobby. Let's chat it out. Maybe he has ratzon. Nothing could stay in the way of ratzon. Let's talk to him. So she sends me a WhatsApp message. I was on the way to Masada on Sunday. I spoke to him. Listen to what he said. He has no interest in anybody being involved in his life or telling him what to do. I said, Judy, get rid of him now. Because if that's the case, then when there's a problem in the marriage, you're going to suffer in silence and be miserable and walk out. If there's a derech eretz for das Torah, you're in trouble. He could have said, sure, I'd like to meet the rabbi, I'd like to meet the person, let's see what he has to say. The fact that he's saying, no one's going to tell me how to live my life and what to do, is already an attitude that's a problem. So then, that's why it's so very important.
The Zoom died.
Sure. Is the thing on?
Is it charging? Can you see if it's charging? Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's hold on. Hold on.
I have a charger.
Okay, we're on 3%. As long, I don't care if it stays there.
So that's not charging.
It is charging.
Oh, it is charging.
It is charging, but the thing is, it's probably competing between the charging and the use of the phone.
Right.
Well, let's give it a shot. Tell them we're going back on.
You want to try it and charge it? Or different charger? You sure?
Yeah, let me give you a confirmation.
Mine is fast. It is charging.
This one's
Faster?
120.
Wait, she's gonna change it.
Is it okay?
Yeah, because you're losing power. Better charger.
How's that?
Oh.
Okay, now we're back on.
Good, you're good. Okay, so now, right, so, common hashkafa is critical. There's a French philosopher who brings out something beautiful. Romance is not a man and woman looking at each other. It's a man and woman looking in the same direction. Very important. Are we both looking in the same direction? So I told you, I gave you my word. I'm going to tell you something about a disparity in religion. One of my favorite stories is when the Baal Tshuva movement started about 40 years ago. There was a girl, a Moroccan girl in Paris, who was keen on doing something new. She wanted to follow her sister, who was the pioneer, her footsteps. She had married a boy in learning. She said, I want the same. Her father was like, Tamim. So she says to him, Daddy, Abba, whatever, however they say it in French, I want someone in learning. Her father didn't even understand what the term meant. So he tells his brother in shul in Paris on a Shabbat, he says, Sarah wants a man who's going to be in learning. She wants to get married. And again, these are traditional Jews who didn't have any idea what this concept means in learning. And he said, I have the guy for her. His name is Yosef. He's a great guy. He's in learning. She's going to be very impressed. She never saw him. It was the age of blind dates, which is not a bad idea. I met my wife on a blind date. So the date is set and scheduled to meet in the lobby and have drinks in a 4-star hotel in Paris. There she is, all coiffed, ready to go, put together. When someone approaches her and says, are you Sarah? And she's like, what? A Grateful Dead t-shirt with cut-up jeans. I said, who are you? Were you sent to send me a message? And he says, I'm Yosef, your date for the night. She saw stars. What do you mean? I told my father, I want someone in learning. I am learning. I'm going to be an architect 6 months away from my degree in the Sorbonne. So, you don't even have a kippah on. Oh, I forgot. Like that. And then he says, well, what's the problem? I said, I want someone who's going to be learning Torah. I'm going to be a CPA. It'll be my delight and pleasure to support that person. Why would you want that? He tells her. Why would you want to work for the man? And then begins a discourse for almost 2 hours, debate and dialogue. And then after 2 hours, she says, enough with this interrogation. Can I go now? And they're getting ready to depart when he hits her with the $1 million remark. And he looks at her, and he says to her, and what if I became that guy? She says, not in a million years. It wouldn't happen. And they part. She goes home. She rips into her father, who rips into his brother. What did you do to me? What an embarrassing scenario you put me in. It's not fair what you did to me. Okay. 3 weeks later, the uncle calls his brother. What did she do to him? He quit the Sorbonne 6 months away from his architect's degree, and he went to study in Yeshiva Aix-les-Bains. If you've been up there, it's a beautiful yeshiva. It's one of the disciples of the Chavetz Chaim. I was there with my wife. He is maybe 20 years ago. And he wants another date with her. Will she grant him another date? And she says, okay, yes. Same location. A month later, she's waiting for him, and it's no longer Grateful Dead t-shirt and jeans. Now white shirt and blue pants. with a black velvet kippah. And he sits down and he says to her, I can't thank you enough. You opened a world to me that I never knew existed. The pleasure of sitting and learning Torah has been something unbelievable. Incredible fulfillment that I have in life now. I have a purpose. I'm living for something. So now the conversation is completely taking an angle. They're talking about life and talking about aspirations and goals and a Torah environment to raise children. And the date's proceeding beautifully till when it comes to the end, and he asks for a third date. And she says, no. She didn't feel like she was ready for that. And now everyone goes their separate ways. He decides to go to Or Sameach in Muncie to develop his learning skills. And the years go on. And now our maiden is no longer 21. 28 years old now, with no prospect in sight. And the word comes back that Yosef made it to Israel, where he learned for a few more years. And now she's 31. Yosef now is a Rosh Kollel, with 12 people under his helm. And she's 35 now. In Tzarotenu, like just what happened yesterday, there was a terrorist attack. He had married a woman in Israel and had 5 kids. His wife and 3 children were killed. Devastating. And the word got back to Paris to his relatives. And after sitting Shiva, he was going to come back and visit aunts and uncles. And the talk in Paris is, Yosef's coming back. Would you like to have another date with him? And she says yes. And they get to meet up in the same hotel. And she's waiting in the lobby, and in comes through the front door a Rosh Kollel with a bekesha and a Hamburg hat. B'chvodo ba'atzmo. She can't believe it. The transformation is absolutely unbelievable. He sits down, he says, wow, it's been 14 years, huh? He says, I'm forever indebted to you. You changed my life. My wife used to go daven for you at the kotel all the time, hoping you would get married. She started to cry. She said, you know what? You had Rahmanis on me, and I didn't have Rahmanis on you. They went out for 5 more dates, they got engaged. On the day of their wedding, he says, I want to present you with a gift. Please put this in our photo album. He pulls out of his pocket the first kippah I ever wore. Because this will remind us of our origins. So, if you're going in the same direction, it can work. Okay. You pick the wrong person because you choose someone with whom you don't feel emotionally safe. You have to be careful. Sometimes there are people out there that are controlling behaviors, and you don't feel like you are free to talk about what you want to talk about. And a person you shouldn't feel inhibited in saying what you want to say. Controlling behaviors are a sign of an abusive person. Be on the lookout for someone who's trying to change you and manipulate you. There's a huge difference between controlling and making suggestions. A suggestion is made for your benefit. A controlling statement is made for their benefit. Number 8. You picked the wrong person because while you were dating, if there was something that was bothering you, you didn't put it on the table. Whatever's bothering you should be brought up for discussion. And if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, then engage the shadchan. Oftentimes people sweep things under the rug, hoping that it'll go away, and it doesn't. Bringing up the uncomfortable stuff in dating is the only way to evaluate if both of you can communicate and compromise and negotiate. By the way, if I get a phone call from a couple while they're dating that there's an issue, I'm happy to hear that. I want to see how they resolve it. I want to see if they can come to a consensus now and fix the problem, because if they can, that's good. That's a good omen for their future. I recently had a discussion with a Rav, a Syrian rabbi in Brooklyn, whose son, BMG boy, married a, pristine Beis Yaakov girl, divorced 5 months. I said to him, what do you think happened here? He said, I should have known better. It was too smooth from beginning to end. Not a problem whatsoever. And the Gemara tells us every shidduch has to have some sort of a hiccup. Everyone.
I'd like the source for that, because it's true.
I'll get it for you. Yeah. So be on the lookout. He says, I should have known it. There was never a problem. It was too smooth. So there's got to be something. Okay, so again, you pick the wrong person because you don't put everything on the table. Never be afraid to tell the person that you're dating what's bothering you. That's the only way you can be vulnerable. If you can't be vulnerable, you'll never become close to each other. The two go hand in hand. Number 9, you pick the wrong person because you use marriage to escape from your personal problems and emotional issues. If you are not happy and single, you'll probably be unhappy and married. So if you're a shadchan, look out for someone who's, challenged with depression, poor attitude. You see the need for therapy. Cure them first before sending them into a relationship. It's very important because marriage will not fix their personal, psychological, emotional problems. If anything, marriage will make it worse because now it's magnified. After I spent Pesach with my in-laws in Miami. I came back. When I was there, someone asked me for help. I said, I gave a shir in Chol Hamoed, in Surfside. So I said, a girl came up to me and said, can we talk? A couple of weeks after. So she called me after. She says, you know what? People come into Miami for the holiday, and so there was a boy came in from London. She started going out with him, and it had been Tuesday was the last date, and she called me on Friday. I said, have you heard from the shadchan? It was already their third date. She says, no. I said, why don't you call her? Because I'm afraid. Afraid of what? What if he rejected me? I said, you got to find out what happened. No, you have to know what you're holding with the boy. Okay, that's it. If you're afraid, I'm getting on the phone, you, me, and her. So I got on the phone. It turns out that the shadchan was the mother of my daughter's best friend when we lived in Miami Beach, in Beis Yaakov, Miami. Oh, Dr. Cohen, how are you? Whatever. Her daughter and my daughter were best friends. Today they're both 33. Anyway, so I said to her, Mrs. X, tell me about what happened. What did the boy say about the date? He had a good time, but there was a certain issue. I said, what is it? I said, she came. He was a little upset. She came to the date without makeup. Bothered him. She screams, that's it. I'm not going with guys with ever again. If that's what they're concerned about, then it's not for me. I'm done with dating. Like that. I said, time out. I read her a Q&A from Rabbi Miller. A girl wrote him a letter a day before the date. How should I prepare for tomorrow's date? Should I get my Divrei Torah in line, tell him about all the good stuff we learned in seminary and all that? He says, my dear lady, I want you to go sit in the beauty parlor for 6 hours tomorrow.
Wow.
That's what he told her. Matthias. Understand? That's what you have to do. Forget about the other stuff. Don't live in fantasy land. He's a guy. And a guy has to see certain things. I was zoiche to be the shadchan for one of the biggest Magidei Shiurim in New York. A big rabbi. Huge. Do you know what he told me? First of all, I don't care who they are. They have the same, everyone's the same way. She's got to be attractive. Like that. Very attractive. That's just the way of the world. So it's important that we have to address these things. You pick the wrong person because that person is involved in a triangle. What does triangulated mean? If that person that you're dating is dependent on something or someone else other than you, then that person, you'll never be the most important person in their life. And a classic example, someone who's too close to their parents. Very, very big problem. I had a Beis Yaakov girl, a High Mishnah girl, came to me. A month after her wedding, divorced. Because the night of the wedding, they went to the hotel, and he was on the phone with his mother for 3 hours. Yeah, serious problem there. That's triangulated, classic. People can also be triangulated with or being a workaholic, internet, hobbies, sports, money. Be careful that the person that you're dating is free of triangles. Because if he's not, you'll never be the number one priority. Years ago, while I was still practicing medicine, I used to practice 1 to 8, and 9 to 12 was devoted to teaching boys who came from Eretz Yisrael, and they were going to learn by a yeshiva, 9 to 1, and then going to college or working, whatever it may be. So I had an invention of some kind in orthopedics, and the buyer from Walgreens, which is the big pharmacy chain in New York, says, "Where are you 9 to 12? Because when we try to reach you, you're never available." I said, "I teach young men how to behave in marriage." So this is an Irish guy from Chicago, because that's where Walgreens parent corporation office is. "What do you teach them?" So he's sitting there with 2 Irish waspy secretaries. I said, "Hashem, I need your help now." I said, "Rob, I'm going to teach you 2 words, your first 2 words in Hebrew. I teach my boys to treat their wives like makom rishon. And if a woman feels that she's first place, it's the best. That's very important. And obviously it goes both ways, but it's critical." Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So how do we recognize the right? Oh, hold on. By the way, I'm happy. I wanted to see this. I want to go through some of the questions again, because this is a PDF that I created for David Lichtenstein. He has one of the most famous podcasts in North America called Headlines. It's a frum guy. I think he's a billionaire in real estate, but he's a brilliant guy. And every Motzei Shabbos, he has a show on different areas of halacha or shkafa. And he had an episode about a year ago, what's causing the rash of broken engagements and quick divorces. So I said to him, I feel that the dating communication is not as in depth as it should be. And I went ahead and designed a PDF of 100 questions, which I want all of you to ask me for. So you could just WhatsApp me and I'll send you the PDF. It's critical. And I'll just run through some of these questions that you can tell the people who come to you, or yourself, what to ask. And these are X-ray questions that get to the heart of the matter, so that you can have what I call intentional dating. What's something about yourself that you're proud of? What does it mean for you to be Jewish today? I just took a call on the way here from a guy whose mother called me, and they're interested in one of my clients. Now she's a little fashionista, a little bit with the nails, etc., Beis Yaakov background, but she says to me that I still want a guy who went to Israel 1 or 2 years and is ready to work. So I said to him, again, let me hear about your day. From family. There's no shul, maybe once a week. He goes to work, and the black hat's on, because chas v'shalom, if the father sees him without the black hat on Shabbos, he's going to be annoyed, because the brothers and sisters-in-laws all have that stuff, right? Goes to work, comes home, I dabble with my phone with a few hours, maybe go out with some of my friends, but I'm a little older now, so a lot of them are married. I said, I'm disappointed. I would like to have heard you go to shul at least 3-4 times a week, and there's no sign of any kind of chavrusa in your life. So don't assume that they have the same outlook on Yiddishkeit as you do if you don't ask. Do you learn? Ask. What are your goals? What do you accomplish? What do you want to accomplish with your life in the next 5 years? The obvious answer I want to hear is I want to build a great Jewish home and I want to have some children. When they start telling me, well, I want to get my company from my $500,000 to $1 million and my professional degrees, that bothers me a little bit. How have you grown and changed in the last 5 years? What are you doing to maintain your current spiritual growth? Don't assume anything. Describe a challenge you had in life. Now, again, I'm not asking you, nor am I advising you to interrogate the person. I'm giving you questions. You have to be intelligent enough to thread them in to the conversation. Let's say we're talking about a challenge in life, or a story that you both share, or you share with them about a challenge that someone had. Then turn the tables on that person. Did you ever have a challenge? And how did you grow from it? How did it make you stronger? Who are your closest friends? You know the famous expression, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you what you're all about. Where do they hang out? What quality do you look for in a friend? Is it dependability? Is it integrity? Is it honesty? Who's your best friend now? How long have they been your best friend? It shows me if you have longevity in your relationships. And if he's a guy, do you enjoy learning? Is it a priority to you? Do you enjoy your work? That's great, because if they like what they do in terms of work, they're by nature happy people. Very important. What's your neighborhood like? Where would you like to live? I recently told a story about one of my one of my talmidim years ago in New York, who was going out seriously. He's a New Yorker going out with an LA girl. I was going to Lakewood one day when I got a phone call from Rebbetzin Revach in Hadass Torah. They have a shul there in Pico Boulevard. Nice shul. She says, we have a problem. They're engaged already. And the girl's her talmidah, her student. You know, Baruch never said he's going to live in New York. She assumed they're going to live in Los Angeles. And I said, let me check into it. I said, Baruch, you never discussed where you're going to live? I don't know, I assumed she's going to live where I live because my business is here. I said, dude, pack your bags, you're going to LA. And he's living in LA now. Things have to be discussed. What's your typical day like? Do you daven with a minyan? What shul do you attend? How do you describe your personality? Are you a happy person? You'd be surprised how many people say no. What are you working on yourself to improve? When you're feeling down, what do you do to raise your spirits? How do you tend to resolve a difficult decision? If they tell me, my Rav, my Rebbetzin, or my Chavrusa, who's older than me, do you see what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen? We're creating now an X-ray of the person in front of us. We don't have to waste our time with unnecessary dating that's endless, that's going nowhere. In the secular world, people come to me. They're dating for 2, 3, 4 years. What's that all about? What is that all about? What is that accomplishing? Who do you admire? So now I get to understand who you like most. Who's your role model? Do you enjoy kiruv? Would you have people at your Shabbos table? How do you like to spend Shabbos? Describe to me your Shabbos of the future if you were married. What are you looking for in a spouse? If you have a disagreement with someone, how do you settle differences? You're looking to see if there's a need of compromise. Aside from your parents, describe to me, tell me a couple you admire. Now I want to see who they give esteem to. Are you close with your parents? Red flag if they haven't spoken in years. Yeah. What kind of children would you like to raise? Meaning, and one of my favorite questions is, would you raise your kids the way you were raised? And if you, how would you do it differently? In your opinion, what's the best way to instill positive values in kids? And later on, what school system would you like to use? This is a problem. I've seen it. She's thinking day school, he's thinking more Haredi. I have a very intimate relative whose kids are messed up because he was too intimidated by his very strong-willed wife. They all could have done much better. As a matter of fact, got kicked out of high school last year from the top 5 day school. And then you can go to things that are not related to personal. Describe your favorite vacation. What do you like to do for fun? What music do you like to listen to? What books have you read recently? Any interesting sperm that were game changers for you? If you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do with your life? Describe the most adventurous thing you ever did. You see where we're going with this? I'll continue with this toolbox stuff because I think it's very important. Wait a second. Do you see issues of self-esteem with people? I think it's important that we talk a little about that. Yeah. The need for self-esteem. In order to come into a marriage, each partner must have a healthy self-esteem in order to understand and accept the things the person says without taking it personally. A self-confident person is able to overlook other people's words and actions and not take them personally and react inappropriately to them. A person with a healthy self-esteem won't allow another person to define them or manipulate them into doing things that they don't want to do. Having confidence doesn't mean that you feel you're the most important person or your opinion is the most important, but you have confidence in yourself. Doesn't mean you're arrogant, but a sense of worth, that you're someone. You're someone special. We all have qualities and we all have abilities that make us different. So that's very important. How do you build self-esteem? Do the things that you're good at. What is it that you like? If you like baking or cooking, that's your forte, go for it. You like to sew? Go for it. Like to design apps? Whatever it may be. Spend time in what makes you feel special. And above all, I think it's so important to realize, to tell our students and our clients, there's a mistake to be lured by things like beauty or money. Although attraction is necessary, it will wear off, and then the real work will begin. Therefore, beyond chemistry, one of the most important ingredients is to determine, is there substance? Toichen. The right spouse will help you navigate your way through life, while the wrong one will send you down a path you never wanted to travel. Make sure that you take the long-term picture into consideration. And here's a critical question. Will this person help me grow? I can tell you without hesitation, my wife helped me grow a lot. She encouraged me. She motivated me. In our very first year of marriage, I already decided to teach in the shul that we joined. After work, I came home, I taught 3 nights out of 5. She gave me the wherewithal to be able to develop my skills, my toichen, my talents. Both the man and the woman should be able to do that for each other. Because if it's a stale environment and you're not growing, then you're just existing. On the way here, I was reading Rabbi Berkowitz's notes from Esha Torah on preparing for Elul. Are you living or are you existing? Existing is just flatline. Living is you're connecting to Hashem and you're giving back to Jewish society. That's key. You have to be living. Rabbi Miller would say, are you performing? Life's a stage. Are you performing? I think I said a fair amount of stuff here. I'm happy to open up the floor to any questions you may have. Feel free to hit me with anything that's on your mind or any experiences that you've had, and I'll be happy to answer them. Anybody have any questions? Well, then you can always WhatsApp me and ask me, and I'm happy to answer them. I hope it was enlightening.
Yeah,
we learned quite a bit.
The reason that we made tonight was because, Shidduchim is very hard,
Right.
very discouraging.
Right.
A lot of ups and downs, maybe more downs than ups, and for the Shachayim, also for the singles. So, that's why we made this night, to sort of to mechazek each other, to, keep going. Like most of our work, we don't get paid for.
True.
Not in Olam Hazeh anyway.
True.
Olam Haba maybe.
Take a lot of grief.
Yeah, we take a lot of grief. We're
Right.
punching
Sounds like real
bags.
estate.
Huh? Join you in real estate?
Sounds like real
It sounds like real estate. When you make a sale, you make a lot more money than we do when we make a shidduch. I just think we all need a chizuk sometimes. To keep going. We just have to keep at it.
1,000%. Without doing it conscientiously, I didn't do much of it for 2 months this summer. I went to Lakewood for the summer, learned in a place called Lutsk half a day. I was burned out. Like anyone else, I left it, and I came back invigorated. I've been away for 3 Shabbosim now. I haven't been home in a month for Shabbos, because it came back, the fire came back. But every one of us is human, and we take a big beating, and like sometimes I feel like we're punching bags here. I always say to people, Julie, that before I went to the operating room, I knew with 99% certainty what my results would be. The most humbling thing in going into Shidduchim is it's probably 1% now. And the need to sort of auto-recharge and start again after taking someone down a path of a shidduch and it crashes for whatever reason. I don't like his nose, I don't like his mother, I don't like her hairstyle, whatever, or any kind of shtuyot that we've heard, and to start all over again. So I think, like in anything in life, sometimes there's burnout on the side of the people that are dating, and there's burnout on the people on the other side, like us. I felt that it was I didn't do it with the kivun that I was going to stay away from, but it just turned out that I wasn't as busy with this stuff, but I found that it was extremely helpful to me. And also learning Torah was extremely helpful to me. It allowed me to put my focus in other things. So, yeah, we need chizuk. It's very important. But there are times you not as rah about it. And
And it's
just,
okay.
and that's fine.
Acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Own it and who cares?
Yeah.
Right. I enjoy talking to the Bachrim from BMG for a couple of hours. Tell me what you're learning, what's going on, what's it all about, what's happening, and just something else. And after a while, it sort of restores, the engine restores. It's not possible to do this all the time this way. Thank God we have holidays and we have all these wonderful things coming up, Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. It's fine. It's okay not to be involved with it when you're not in the mood. You're not competing with anyone. If you can't give back, it's not worth it. I came here, I wanted to, I was ready, I was excited. The fire was back. And that's it. And I realized that life's a wheel. But I think also it's important that you surround. I like to read. I'm a big storybook reader. Besides the regular learning, we need to hear always positive, uplifting episodes about people's lives. They're invigorating. If anything, most of the farm that I own are Musar, because I think we have an obligation to put on a happy face all the time. Like Rabbi Saranta would say, "Your face is a Rishus Rabim." Right. You have no right to walk around morose or depressed. So, just accept it. There's going to be,
Ups and downs.
ups and downs. That's life. But when you have it down, by the way, or you just have a period where you're not as active, you're not as fertile, that's okay. It sets you up for even better. I'm telling you, it's Yeridah Aliyah. Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. And again, if you need me, please feel free to contact me. I'm at your service, 305-206-1916.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Very interesting.
Happy you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.
Lynn was my teacher in seminary.
Wow.
Seminary.
Wow. Thanks for coming. That's a double
I
pleasure.
went down the street,
Yeah.
and I was just in contact with Julie today
Yeah.
about helping me with a student of mine who is a Yored from an Asian country who's a little bit older right now.
I've done a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said I think she could use you because she needs.
Send it to Julie.
Music. I am.
And Lynn said, I would be happy to see you sometime. And I said, well, I'm coming to Harnov tonight. It's the same street. She lives on the same street.
Really?
It's so funny.
Right.
Would you think, like, have you've dealt with a lot with Bali Tshuva and these kind of types?
Oh
Is there
yeah.
anything very different that you find with those, working with those kinds of shidduchim than the regular, black and white kinds?
When you're setting them up, are you setting them up with FFBs or Bali Tshuva like them?
Most of the time, Bali Tshuva.
Right.
Most of them. And also like Gerim. There's a lot of Gerim right now.
What I think they do, if they're very sincere, is they beat themselves up.
Yeah.
They're very hard on themselves.
For the gay room and the Baal
The
Tshuva?
Baal Tshuva.
I find sometimes with Gerim is that a little bit of an unrealistic approach to certain things. Like, I understand where it's coming from because they want to have what they never had.
Right.
So, for example, they don't want to go out with other Gerim sometimes.
Right. Right. They want to be accepted.
And they
but-
want their kids to have from grandparents.
But
Right.
it's such an illusion because you're marrying the person
Right.
and everything else is gravy, but it's not what you need. You need somebody who's going to understand you and know what you went through, and the likelihood is greater to meet somebody who also
How old is our young lady?
43
That's Pashat.
from Malaysia.
And she's sincere?
There.
How long has she been
Wonderful
approved?
girl. She's been Jewish for a year, but she's been in process for a long time.
There are a lot of men out there that are still looking to have a baby that have become very open because they're not so young anymore,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, there are.
they're open to trying whatever they can to have a baby. 43, she could still have still.
Yeah, yes. But I'm saying, like, she's not one that says that she doesn't want to go out again. But other
She
Other
could have
students.
kids, but only if it's like now. She can't wait
Right,
10
we
years.
better get
She's
moving.
not-
Money,
Yeah,
let's call her
yeah.
now.
She's more
Keep that
concerned
one.
about finding the right relationship.
Thank you very much.
She is.
Thanks for coming.
Just wondering about that, what to do with those types of students that have this image of something that they want that really isn't necessarily the right thing. Like, you know, it's
I
not
think you have to let them go out and have a degree of failure, and they'll come to their own conclusions.
yeah.
Because sometimes they're
Looking for a person,
yeah,
not
not an image.
an image. You know?
Right.
You're going to marry a person. You're not going to marry the mother-in-law or the father-in-law. Hopefully, you know what I mean? Or you have to.
In 10 seconds, it's gonna be 1 hour.
Okay.
Anyways,
Good.
You can tell her.
Going. If she
Happy
keeps
to,
going, so-
I'm happy to chat with her. If she
I'm
wants.
going to get her to Julie first.
Julie, if you need any help with her, send me a shout.
I've made sure those
She's
females
wonderful.
are
She's
scary.
really, really wonderful.
So, most Garyim are very flexible. That's why I like
You
working
got
with
him
them.
to be flexible?
I've been fortunate with my
My
Garyim.
girlfriend, that Swedish girl, you weren't flexible. She wasn't.
She wasn't so flexible, but there were others that. Do you know the other girls that I knew that she wasn't? I don't know if they went through MRC or Sherry or different places.
Yeah.
There's Abigail Hernandez. You know,
Oh, yeah, she's
you
a
knew
great
her.
girl, yes.
So yeah, I made her shut up. She was very flexible
Yeah, she
because
was.
she's 37.
She
She's like
was.
yours. She just wants to get married and have a kid, you know.
Yeah.
And so she considered this. She considered that. She got married.
She, yeah, it was a
You
nice
know?
one.
Yeah, yeah. Another one. She was black.
Yeah.
She was flexible. She didn't care. The guy was a little heavy, a little older.
Yeah.
Nice guy. And it went. You know, it's all about being flexible and easygoing. And there are plenty of men out there in their 50s.
Yes.
You'll be very happy with a 43-year-old
Very.
married. You know, no
'Cause that-
baggage. Just,
right.
You know, nice Jewish guys in their 50s that want to have a baby.
Okay.
And they're tired of dating the women that they've been dating for the last 20, 30 years. You know, this is something new. A lot of people like Gary
Yeah.
because they have like the
There's
freshness
so
about them.
many gay women here, involved in the Balchuva
Yeah.
schools, and it's just amazing. Before Mashiach, right? They say before Mashiach is going to be
Yeah, a lot more.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're actually easier in shidduchim, I found, usually.
Yeah.
Right, they are.
I think they feel like that's kind of like the end of their becoming a Jew is like getting married.
Right.
That's like, okay, now I'm really.
They just want to join the club.
Yeah, right. And they're really in, you know, once they get married. So they're usually more open.
Wow.
Yeah. I look forward to meeting her.
Okay. Anyways, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Is this your last event?
That's it. Tomorrow, go home. Tomorrow, go to visit my parents in Eretz HaChaim. Actually put up the stone today, so I want to go take a picture of it for my mom. She passed away this year. And then maybe some light souvenir shopping and out the door. I go home and I have to run a campaign, a seating campaign for the Hasidic Shtibel, which is the biggest Shtibel in New York. 76 minyanim a day. That's where I daven for 35 years.
Minyanim a day.
Yeah. It's called the Landau's Shul. It's famous in Flatbush. So that's going to be for 2 or 3 weeks where I'm going to turn my...
You were close to Rabbi Miller? You were at
Very.
in his shul?
I didn't go to his shul. I didn't go to him as a mispalel.
Yeah.
I was in the shul every week for the classes, whether in Yaakov or Misil Shisharim or Chovat Levavot.
My uncle was his gabbai for 42 years.
No way. Who's that?
Bob Beck.
Beck? Yeah, and Mrs. Beck.
Yeah, she's my mother's sister.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. The Becks were very close to him.
Yeah. He was one of 3 people that actually did his will.
Yeah,
He really
they were close.
such an influence on his life and
What did they do when they were older? Did they come here? Or did they stay?
My uncle passed away and is buried here, and my aunt, she lived here for a while with a daughter who was here at the time. She lived here for a number of years,
I remember.
and then she lived in LA for a while, and she passed away, and she's also buried there, here.
Right. I know that she had gone to Israel.
Yes, she was here
Right.
for a few years.
Right.
She was here
Right.
for a few years. But Rabbi Miller had such a...
She was looked up to by a lot of people.
She gave a lot of
Yeah.
advice.
She was looked up to by a lot of
She
people.
once told Rabbi Miller, she said, because he sent her a lot of people, and she
Right.
said, Rabbi Miller, therapist.
He trusted her more.
That's why I'm sending them.
He trusted her more.
You were saying before the therapist that ruined that couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sending them.
Some of them are outright dangerous.
Yeah.
But my uncle and his whole story is it's interesting because he was a Baal Tshuva in years when there weren't any Baal Tshuvas.
Uh-huh.
And he worked on himself, and Rabbi Miller helped him to become very learned.
Yes, I've seen him written up in the books,
Yeah.
pictures from the old
He
days.
convinced him to do the tapes.
Yes, him and Phil Shelby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make those and also to speak in English.
Ah, yeah.
Because Rabbi Miller asked him once, how come you don't come to my shiur? How come you don't come here? He said to him, I don't speak Yiddish. The next day, he spoke in English.
Wow.
Changed.
And he had a great English.
Yeah, his English is very
Yeah.
good.
Extremely educated. He read a lot of secular books in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
Anyway,
questions?
that's
Anything
okay.
else? Anybody else?